call this meeting to order. I'd like to start by inviting those in the audience as well as those online. Thank you for joining us. And also remind everybody this is a great opportunity to set your phones and electronic devices to quiet mode and do not disturb. With that, will you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Very good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could I start by getting a roll call, please?
Westwood?
Here.
Conley?
Here.
Daniels? Here. Davis? Here. Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude? Yes. Cuban?
Yes.
All right. Can I start by getting I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Conley, second by Councilmember Ronnie. Discussion at the table. Let me start by saying there is not, I don't think there's anything we haven't seen before. I would like to request a potential little bit of leniency with the stuff below the fold, as we like to call it, in the discussion portion. Depending on, we've got two outside experts, staff that's helping us out on things, and so I may request a little bit of leniency to address those so we don't have to keep them online. Other than that, any other discussion? So make it official, please.
Conley?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Cuban?
Yes.
Thank you. Entertain a motion regarding the minutes of the July 22nd meeting.
I move to adopt the minutes of the July 22nd, 2025 meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion from Councilmember Ronning, second from Councilmember Conley. Discussion at the table. Hearing none. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Cuban?
Yes.
6-0, the motion passes. I'll entertain a motion on warrants payable.
I move to approve warrants payable in the amount of $448,402.56.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table.
I apologize, I didn't even know we had those today. I guess
And I totally forgot
There was just one bill that, and I apologize, I didn't even bring this to you, Lonnie, that was for $20,000. That was literally just a bill for $20,000, and it was.
I think it said sheet rock.
It was for sheet rock and stuff, but it would have been nice to see that a little bit more itemized and
So it,
broken
so
down.
it, on that little sheet, it said for sheet rock, taping and mudding and texture.
Right.
All
yeah.
together.
Again,
All together.
Together, it would have been nice to see a little bit more itemized, like labor costs. those
Yeah,
types of
because it
things.
was included with labor and.
That's just
everything.
again, a personal.
total job, labor and material.
Are there any concerns with paying the claim as
No.
presented?
No, just
No.
a
Okay.
note, that's
A
all.
lot
No.
of
And it's worthy, it's worthy question to raise, and I appreciate it. And just so the public knows, those public claims are available in a little, basket around the corner. Those are available to the public at any time as well. And if there's anything there you have questions or concerns on, you're absolutely welcome to reach out to your council representative, or if I'm available or staff is available, we're happy to answer questions as well. All of that information is very public and very available. There's no intent of sneakiness ever on anything. So. All right, any other discussion at the table?
I think it's terrible that we had to write a check for 34 cents.
What?
34
It's an
cents.
overpayment.
It's an overpayment,
It's an overpayment on the water bill. And we have
34 cents.
Yeah.
And we have to?
Probably.
We occasionally have those under $1, and it's interesting that they always do catch your attention as you go
Yeah, we're
through.
very small, like 3 over maintenance.
And there's no way we can pass an ordinance or something that says if it's under $5, we will not be issuing money back?
I don't think
I
you
think
can.
it's fair to issue money back, it's like, that's fine, like.
What if it was your 34 cents?
I would probably frame it, I wouldn't.
I think a lot of I know a certainty that some of those checks do get framed, just for the record. All right, any other discussion regarding warrants payable at the table?
No.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
6-0, the motion passes. All right, for mayor's comments, let me pull up my notes. First thing, just because I know it's coming, Rocky Fork update. We did hear back from DNRC. There's a meeting, I'm trying to think if it's, I think it was actually this morning. I have a little spreadsheet that has this calculated out to the day now. So just so everybody's aware of the process, when DNRC gives us the update and says that the floodplain permit that was submitted meets their requirements, as long as that happens before the end of the week on Friday, the following Monday, we will submit the paperwork for the public notice in the newspaper. That'll run for 15 days, starting on Thursday. That notice is already written in preparation, so if we have to tweak the dates or something. Right now, we have a working copy, because last Friday was out of the question, that says this Friday we get information. We have it ready to submit for Monday. 15 days later, which at this point would be September 5th, after there's been an opportunity for public comment and for us to respond to any public comments regarding the flood permit, the notice to proceed will be issued the next day. So that's Friday, the 5th of September, I think, is the next available day. And then we'll blink and the house will be gone. Okay? The airport master plan, you'll recall there was funds, there was a grant to do the airport master plan that was started. And once the FAA came back and said we were not going to be accepted into the AIP, we worked with the county and also the consultant to get documentation from the FAA that said, why spend more money? Why throw good money after bad? We closed that out. Those documents came through, and I executed those based on the previous approval from council. So that is now done, and anybody who says, oh, we're gonna have to pay it back, it's now past tense, and we didn't. Just a little bit of a heads up. We have Al Bloomer in our midst today. He has turned in his notice for the planning board. He is going to be at our meeting tomorrow still. But that notice that there will be an opening on the planning board will be posted in the August 21st paper, and then it'll close on September 4th, and we'll make an appointment on September 9th. And I would just like to publicly thank Al for stepping in doing that. I asked Al to stay on when I came on board initially, and he was ready to step back at that point, and I begged, pleaded, and he acquiesced and said, as long as you'll let me leave when it's time for me to leave, we'll do that. And so, again, thank you for him. And
Thank you,
and at
Al.
the same time, you'll see that posting, coming up in the paper. Annexations, we have requested a timeline and an analysis from our planning firm to make recommendations on the annexations, just to kind of double check and make sure, as well as lay out the plan, and when I get that information, I will relay it on to council. So,
You say plural, Remington Ranch and?
2 Mile Bridge called, what's the official name?
Woodlands.
Woodlands, at 2 Mile Bridge, and both of those are areas that they're already on public sewer. And they have, in conjunction with that, they have already signed as part of that agreement, they've waived their right to protest an annexation. Some of the comments that I've had, and we've got Greg on here for the master planning. If I misspeak, Greg, feel free to jump in and correct me. But some of the things we're looking at is, what about water? Because the question has been, well, they have to be on water, and that's not been my understanding. It is now my understanding that you generally set up a long-term plan. So like new systems that come on, if there's water available, they would be required to do that. But you generally have like a phase system approach, like over 20 years or some period of time. So they will map that out in their discussions and recommendations to us on how to approach that. But like I said, I think there will be a longer term phase out about how to address the water needs in those areas, if they do that. So, when we get that, we'll dive deeper into that.
Mr. Mayor, will they also, make us adopt Kumau Bridge Road up to Woodlands, or including that bridge, or, I mean, is that gonna be part of their,
The part of the annexation, I think so.
okay.
And up to now, the conversations we've had have been primarily with Public Works. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And the biggest question and concern has been the roads in Remington Ranch, because it's a fairly large, I'm trying to think, it was like a 20 or 30%. It's a significant increase. And anybody who's driven in Remington Ranch in the winter, that's a very interesting drift haven up there. And so you saw some plans in the budget for addressing potential equipment for that. But again, those are conversations that I'm still looking to have before the end of the year, but we're just progressing on that.
Just as a point, there's also an issue with the corner after Kumau Bridge Road, with the flooding that happens there pretty much
Yeah.
every year, and it washes out the road.
Exactly.
And the
Just
bridge.
as a FYI
Is
for
that
Public Works.
past 2 Mile Bridge?
No, it's
No, it's
right in the
there,
middle.
once you get over the
Yeah.
bridge.
Right there.
I'm just
And you
trying
go
to
to the
think of
left?
it, yeah, it's actually, I know right where it is, I'm just
The
trying to think where it
reverse
is
Camber
compared to
Road.
Yeah.
to the Pullen and
Yeah.
So those are questions we'll look at as well. One of I'll leave that at that. So,
Okay.
thank you. And like I said, those will be discussions that are coming up, so.
Ongoing.
For the public, we will be discussing the budget tonight in the work session portion of the meeting. And again, that budget is available online as well as in a hard copy in the lobby. And you are again welcome to reach out to any of your council representatives, or to me, or to those in the office if you have specific questions. The public hearing on the budget is actually going to be the next meeting, 27th? I was thinking 22nd, but
26.
27th is planning board. 26th will be the public hearing and approve of the budget, and that is dictated, by statute. We just got the numbers we needed from that last week, which was how it works into what our actual mills and number of mills, and so a couple things that work into our budget. And yeah, so that'll be next week, and I'll try to have a little bit of a presentation available to go with that as well, in addition to just the charts. Just a heads up for those of you who attend the working sessions during the day. Next meeting, at the end of August, will also be the end of what we call our summer schedule. We have one council member who's a teacher, and so there's a meeting that currently happens at 10:30 on Tuesday mornings that will switch back to Monday evenings come September. So it's still one more cycle out, and that'll be reflected in our agendas and stuff that we post online. Pool. Our anticipated close date is going to be Saturday, the 30th of August. There has been some discussion about extending that to accommodate some lap swimming requests and some others for maybe a week or two into September. So far, those logistics are not looking solid enough that I would say it's going to happen, but it's not necessarily a done conversation. But what happens is after this week, we start to lose lifeguards and staff. And so you may see some impact on that, but it is going to still be open for the lap swims and the aerobics. Those are the ones I generally get the questions about. Kind of in that pump and the parks category, the pump track is mostly completed up at Coal Miners Park. That's looking good. And also the field school courts, the pickleball and tennis courts, got refinished last week. So stop by and look at those. The reports on both of those projects is really good. And again, both of those projects were done in conjunction with the city, but with outside money coming in to help us with the maintenance of those parks. So that's always appreciated. Backtracking to budget, the resort tax presentation is also online if anybody wants to go back and look at that. I think that's my notes. In our 3 weeks that we had off there, to kind of get out of habit, did I miss anything that council wanted updates on?
Is there any update at all on the, I want to call it Shady Rest, but it's not.
Eagles Nest?
Yes.
There is not any new update. We have collected all of the information. We do have our planning team that is looking, continually monitoring for, funding opportunities, and as well as all the people at all of those agencies know we are ready and wanting. And so we are prepared to enter applications in as those funding sources become available. So we've done all the groundwork, and we will continue to watch that.
Just waiting.
Yeah, so we're now in a holding pattern to wait and see. It is not dead, it is not given up on, we're just waiting for somebody else to show up and offer us money to do it.
Is it worth accepting donations? I imagine there's a large amount of the community that would pay.
Well, and there have been some discussions about private acquisitions of that too, but the numbers are pretty high. So if there's 2 comments in those donations, hey, you know, we'll be happy to, happy to have those conversations. But that's what we're looking at right now, is basically a funding source for the city to acquire it. The city is open to doing that. That is, of course, a decision that would come to council ultimately. But when we kind of approved collecting all of that information, we've certainly started down that path. Did I understand the question, and does that answer it?
Yes, and does it include all the way up to Broadway?
It does. So there's actually multiple properties in that.
Right.
Don't quote me, I want to say like 6 or 7 properties, including the little house there. Those are all part of
Including the
that.
little blue house?
Uh-huh.
So, good, that's part of it.
So those are all, but it's also a parcel. So until the deal is done, proposed, and accepted,
They
it
might,
could change, and it could be bits and pieces of that.
it could exclude.
And as the floodplain gets updated, we're anticipating that to be next year. That may change some of the uses that are available and
As
stuff
well.
there as well. Anything else from the
Yeah,
table?
that question reminded me to ask about the attorney situation. We're going to extend it by 3 months?
I'm gonna extend it by 3 months. I followed up with Kelly Lynch up at the league, and they still were not done, and her recommendation was to go ahead and extend it 3 months
And
as well.
Dennison is,
Dennison was the first person that conversation took place with, so he's party to that, but, I will try and think what the date is. We'll be seeing that as, it'll basically just be the same contract as last time with just extended dates in them. Which would mean he would be continuing not only to be, it's basically a staff position, including benefits. Okay. Thank you. Other questions from the table? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and wrap up the mayor's comments. And what we'll do at this point is we will go to the portion of our agenda that is open for public comments. So we will start out with those in the room. There's a little cheat sheet up on the wall. If you would direct your comments toward me, everybody else will eavesdrop in here. That's the way that works. Just a clarification that it's not a discussion and question and answer period, but it is your opportunity to be heard by council. And if you would start by stating your name, where you reside, that can be general terms, if you're more comfortable with that. And then, again, direct your comments to the chair, and you'll have 3 minutes. If you have handouts or prepared materials, it's not necessary to read through all of those. You can just say, I'm submitting some prepared statements, and they will be part of the record next time around, and you can give those to the court clerk, Lonnie, over on the end. With that, I will go ahead and open public comment, and we will start with those in the room first. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. This is Leah Kudner. She's the head of our HOA. We're representing Mountain Home West HOA. And I've met with a couple of the other HOAs that represent us up there. Here's some extras.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. And we're concerned about just the traffic and the flow of traffic behind our HOA. And I met with the Red Lodge Country Estates as well, and then this, Leah has talked to the Spires HOA, and so we're really representing about 700 home sites up where we live. And just the traffic flow and the speed at the various speeds coming in at 55 miles an hour behind our subdivision is causing a danger for a lot of people. And and some of it's caused by, good things, the growth that the area has had. If you go up into, the Red Lodge Country Club Estates, HOA, that Links is getting built out very quickly. And the Spires is in their first phase. They're, currently building on, 80 home sites, and that's getting filled up. But they have a phase 2 that will be coming in that represents another 100, home sites. And on the handout I handed out, it has all the concerns and everything that we listed there. And all we're asking, from the city council is we want to make you aware of our concerns, and that, you know, with growth comes change and also comes responsibility. And we just think it's getting out of hand. And I just go with some of the events that come into Red Lodge, that's when it's probably the most congested. The motorcycle rally is a good thing for Red Lodge. We see all the activity at the fairgrounds. But they just, as soon as they see that 55-mile-an-hour, sign, they race out of town. And they don't go one at a time. There's like, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the motorcycles are doing it. And, many of them are exceeding the speed of 55. Just at where the crosswalk is down there, I have observed, where the 35-mile-an-hour sign right now, that's a great thing. I see cars, all of a sudden they get to that and they hit you can see the brake lights come on. So we know that from that point forward, they're getting stopped. But, I see where the 45 starts is in that curve coming around. You can't see into the 35 if somebody is trying to get across that crossing. And, one of the things, I observed is I came up on the, 35, there, and a lady was trying to crosswalk to get to the fairgrounds, as a lot of people do, and that's in the right of. And, she saw me stop. She got halfway across there, and then fortunately she stopped. But there's another car that came in, and he hit the 45, but he wasn't going 45. He exceeded through that, and there's no way he was gonna stop, and she stopped. But if you know, that didn't happen, you know, that would have been a very serious, accident. So we see a lot of growth and a lot of change, and that highway has changed. Back in 1975, I started with UPS and helped train the drivers up in this area. The first driver up there was Bill Bernhardt. If some of you were here around that time, you probably remember Bill, very polite, man. And, that highway out there was a very slow-moving highway. You'd hardly see any traffic on it at all, but that's changed, and that change is good.
Can I go ahead and have you move toward wrapping it up?
Yep, and, you know, we're looking, if nothing is done, you know, it's gonna get worse, the situation with the continued building out there. And, we just ask that you take a look at it, and, the concerns, we're also gonna submit this up to the, Department of Montana Highways, because we know they control the speed out there. But I will end it in this, is that, you know, the difference in the speed is 15 seconds. If you go 45 out there, up to the point that it changes to 45, if you go 55, it's 15 seconds. That's all the difference is, you know, to slow it down and make it safer for the highway. And, you know, when I trained with UPS drivers, I had a driver that had a fatality, that he had 2 people out of state on the highway as a slow highway. And it's always haunted me all through my years, and this is back in the 70s when this happened, is could I have done something different to avoid that fatality? And did I train well enough? Did I insist that he come to a stop at that point and look left, right, left? And it's always haunted me, did I do that? And I was just as much responsible with that fatality as the driver for that day, you know, because I was the manager of that center in Billings. So we're just asking that, putting it before you and the concerns, and that you take a look at it, and that as we continue to push it up the ladder, that we get some support for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you did already mention MDOT, and that's good because they ultimately control that.
Yes, sir.
They will reach out to us and seek our input on if we'd like them to look at it. So it's good to let us know as well, but that is an appropriate first step to be aware from there, so.
Well, and that was our purpose. Our next step was to forward it up there. So we wanted to give the courtesy to you guys and get your support.
Thank
So
you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Councilmember Root.
Are you Jim Cruiser?
No, this is Leah. She's the board of
I was
directors.
looking at names here. What's your name? I didn't catch
My name
it.
is Steve Parliament, and at our HOA meeting, they elected me.
Okay, so
I'm retired now. I don't need to get elected to do anything, and,
Are you, there's other questions, I'm not clear, I haven't read this thing, I don't have time right yet, but where is Mountain Homes West exactly? Is it
Well,
on the tires?
you know,
Jack Lackey. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I know Jack Lackey. Jack Lackey. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
and we're the closest to to the highway.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
hear and see everything that
Right.
happens in there.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment from those present in the chambers? Seeing none, I will look to online. If you will come off mute or raise a hand, that will allow us to recognize you'd like to speak. Going once, going twice. And before I close that out, I will mention, I generally mention when we do that, that there's also an opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting as well on any issues. And then also on all of the items listed under action items, we will always stop and pause for public comment before we take action on those individual items as well. Okay? And going 3 times, we'll close public comment. All right. With that, we are to the action item of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the letter of continuance with Republic Service.
I move to approve the letter of continuance with Republic Services and authorize the mayor to sign it.
Thank you for that last part, because that's what we needed it to do.
I will second.
I have a motion from Council Member Ronning and a second from Council Member Daniel to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of continuance. Discussion at the table.
So, this is just a continuation of our current, contract. Well, the new contract is being negotiated with Republic Services.
Right, and their proposal specifically did basically continue at the same annual updates. There were 2 versions they gave us. One was basically a calculated going up the same amount every year. And that the other version, and as it was last time, we ran some calculations and found out which of those options preferred. So this locks our costs in. The contract is still not fully developed yet. What we are looking for is some performance clauses in that, most specifically about missed services and missing and get missed service and non-functioning cans. So there still are some discussions to work on, and when that contract is done, it will come back to council for approval and public comment, and that'll be made available to the public before action is taken on that. But because of the time it took for folks to respond, you may recall we extended that multiple times because we were having a hard time getting responses back from folks. But this basically allows us to finalize those prices, which is the most significant part of that contract, and then move forward. So, any other discussion at the table? All right, hearing none, what we'll do is we'll go to public comment, and this is specifically to do with the letter of continuance with Republic Services. So I'll open that public comment. I will look to the council chambers. Seeing none, I will go to online to see if there's anybody who'd like to comment, specifically on the letter of continuance with Republic Services. Going once, twice, and 3 times. We'll go ahead and close the public comments on that action. Bring it back to the table. Last chance for any further comments at the table. Hearing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel? Yes. Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stephen? Yes.
6-0, the motion passes. I will entertain a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Red Lodge Police Department and the City of Red Lodge.
I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Red Lodge and the Red Lodge Police Department.
Second.
All right, can we just throw on that authorize the mayor to sign that?
Yes.
And I move to authorize the mayor to sign such agreement.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Ronning. Discussion at the table.
So, to my knowledge, there have been no changes since the last time we reviewed this, is that correct?
That is
So-
correct.
And we talked about, the changes from the last collective bargaining agreement.
Yep.
So I guess if anybody has any questions on that or
I
any
can
comments.
highlight for the public agreement, there really was not a lot of changes. One of the things that we did do is we did change the bookends on the cost of living adjustment to be 1% and 4%. We actually did that last year outside of, that, just to keep our departments consistent. The goal is to stay ahead of the need to do dollar an hour bump type things on and everything. So not only to make sure that our officers are fairly compensated, but that we stay ahead of the curve so we don't have to make significant changes. That was on page 7, and again, these are all available to the public in the comments. On page 11, we did change the hours that the night shift differential is in from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. That was a request, and the city did not have any concerns with that. On page 17, where it discusses leave, and specifically, this is paternity leave, but it is, if vacation is available, they can use vacation, but it's primarily really applies to unpaid leave as needed. We are not big enough that we have FMLA. However, we did have, one of the things that I didn't like when we went through the contract is we had maternity leave was eligible at 6 months at request, and paternity leave was 6 weeks, or no, I'm sorry, 6 weeks of unpaid, and paternity was 2 weeks, and I didn't want to have that conversation in front of a judge, so we have changed those so they are both the same at 6 weeks. If we could miss one officer for 6 weeks, we could miss the other. And I believe, other than dates, that was all of the changes that were in there.
I don't know anything about this, but I thought it was remarkable there were so few changes. So I don't know who gets credit for that, but I kept waiting for some big bombshell, and there was none, so whatever.
There were some requests that were made that we did not concede to. And again, going back to, the COLA was a big part of that conversation, because they did come in and say, we want this, and we were able to say, remember when we had this discussion last time, we said, this is what we're gonna do to address that? And they said, yeah, and we went with that.
Agreed to it.
There was another element that came up that was a concern to the police. It does not belong and is not in the collective bargaining agreement. And that was that they had raised the concern about setting some money aside for the dog. And so that will come up in conversations during the budget discussion.
Okay,
So
anyway, just my 2 cents.
So
All
the
right.
dog is not part of the union contract.
it's not part of the union contract.
He's not part of the union.
Yeah.
He didn't sign it.
Although the handler is, but so anyway, so that's where that is. Any other discussion at the table before we go to public comment? All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. This is public comment specific to the collective bargaining agreement for the police. I will start out in the chamber. Seeing none, I will go to online. If you would make it be known that you would like to speak, same rules apply. Going once, twice, 3 times, we'll go ahead and close the public comment on the collective bargaining agreement and bring it back to the table. Any last discussion at the table before we make a vote? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Donnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
Vote is 6-0, motion passes. Thank you. I will entertain a motion for resolution 3711.
I move to approve resolution number 3711, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Red Lodge, Montana, adopting the 2025 Downtown Master Plan.
I have a second.
Have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Before we come to discussion at the table, I would like to invite Al Bloomer, who is the current chairman of the planning board, to stand and speak for just a couple of minutes and introduce it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This may be the last time I talk to you guys officially, so make this good.
Maybe, not it is. He's open for
I just want to give you a little bit of introduction as to what this process was. This is very similar to what we did with the growth policy. The city adopted a downtown revitalization plan in 1986. In 2006, as part of the Montana Main Street program, the city adopted a downtown assessment and action plan. So now we're in 2025, and we're in the process of updating, which is guided by the Montana Main Street Program principles, specifically, focused on commercial development and planning in the downtown core. The Downtown Master Plan is intended to be a guiding document containing the collaborative vision of the future. It is intended to establish a framework, strategies, and priorities to achieve that vision. The 2025 plan is based on comprehensive analysis of existing conditions based on community and stakeholder input. We tried very hard to stay away from specificity. We tried very hard to have something that had directions, goals, possibilities. Basically, a suggestion platform. It is not a regulatory document. It is a guide to reach collaborative vision over the next 5 to 10 years. The document is certainly fluid and should be reviewed at a minimum of every 5 years. To give you an idea of our process, all planning board meetings were held in public. In February of 2023, the city received a Montana Main Street Program grant to fund, review, and update the master plan and the growth policy. In April of 2024, the planning board began making plans to review the 206 plan in preparation for the 2025 plan and discuss strategy with a consultant planner. At that time was GWE. In August, September of 2024, we prepared and distributed a master plan survey that went out to the public. In September of 2024, Beartooth Front, hosted by GWE and the Beartooth Front, the planning board hosted a community-based forum. There were 3 focus groups: business, tourism, and community at large. In November of 2024, the planning board began discussions and detailed review. Also, we were reviewing the growth policy at the same time. We decided to finish the growth policy first and then come to this. In March of 2025, our primary consultant and planner was now WWC. We continued a detailed review of the plan and created several drafts. In June, we completed and updated a draft and published it in preparation for a public hearing. In July, we held a public hearing and there were no comments. We then reviewed it one more time as a planning board and voted to submit to you for review. So now here we are in August, and it is in your hands. And I hope that you will look at it critically. I have seen some of your suggestions that were given me tonight, and Jeff and I reviewed them briefly, and except for one exception, we're fine with those amendments. And the one exception will come up during discussion. Any questions?
Any questions for Al? Vice Chair DiBenedetto, would you like to take a moment and add anything at all, sir?
No, Al's pretty well covered it. I think I'll just reinforce that the meetings we had with the 3 focus groups, we received a lot of public comments during that period, and those were all considered and incorporated and are reflected in the document that you see in front of you.
Thank you, Jeff. With that, I will bring the discussion back to the table. I will add for the council members' benefit that in addition to the chair and vice chair, we also have Greg with WWC, who is part of our planning team. And so if there are any specific questions that would like to be addressed there, he's available just in case they come up, they can be addressed. With that, let's go to discussion at the table.
would be the appropriate time. I would like to make a motion to amend the downtown master plan. That's
Do you want it as
Do I wanna-
presented in the handout, or?
as presented in the handout, but I guess I could read through these. So specifically would like to amend the downtown master plan for these following changes. Sorry, a little rusty, it's been a few weeks.
Oh, wait, so I have a motion to amend. Do I have a second?
I second.
Yeah, so I was waiting for it, was that
Okay.
second.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend from Councilmember Tupin, and I'm gonna go with the second with Councilmember Conley from amongst the flock. Okay.
So the
We have,
specific changes that we would like to see, again, these were sent out to the council. We discussed these this morning with land use and planning, and this all comes specifically from feedback from council members. Specifically, the changes would be to goals and actions for the downtown Red Lodge on page 37, item number 6. We would like to see that, to strike that from the document and adjust the numbers accordingly. For goals and actions for the downtown Red Lodge, page 37, item number 10, we would like that to read public gathering spaces. The city should look for grant opportunities to fund a parks master plan, which will develop and prioritize a list of improvements through a public input process. Once a master plan is completed, the city should look for grant opportunities to fund improvements that would enhance downtown parks. And I should specify what these changes are. This one is specifically with saying that Lions Park should be considered a public square, and it only referenced Lions Park. This, also, we have some potential progress happening at Lions Park currently, and the Parks Board is also looking to create a parks master plan. So instead of two separate documents, just focusing on that parks master plan and then utilizing that for the development of Lions Park as well as Pride Park or any other downtown spaces. The other amendment on page 37, item 6, that was specifically for retrofitting our streetlights to be night sky downward facing compliant, which I am under the understanding of is not possible, and we also don't own those streetlights. So that would specifically just be striking an item that wouldn't be feasible as a goal. On tourism infrastructure, on page 25, we would ask that the last sentence would read, there are several sections of missing sidewalk on Hauser and Platt. The city continues to level sidewalks of the downtown as weather permits. And then per the request of planning board members, striking the ADA corners have never been considered a success. Don't think we necessarily need to talk on that. I think that realistically, when we go to redo sidewalks at any point, we can pretty reasonably reflect on how we feel about our sidewalks at the ADA corner.
so so the planning board has asked to have that ADA corners,
Just stricken
strike
entirely.
that last sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I will add that because this is some new information, even though it's just generated today, that is available as part of the discussion and part of what you'll be taking action on. There are hard copies here available,
Yep.
for those in the chambers who are interested in looking. I think we got those handed out to parties that expressed an interest before the meeting started.
Yep, and previously, this is just cleaning up the language just a smidge. Previously, it had stated, there was missing sidewalks on Hauser and Platt. And actually, I should just have this side by side so I can read it out loud to everybody. But specifically, it was stating that there's missing sidewalks on Hauser and Platt. The downtown sidewalks were unlevel, and the ADA corners have been considered, have not been considered a success. So this is just kind of cleaning up that language, and also not necessarily putting a nail in a
Dwelling on it?
dwelling on something, yeah, beating a horse to death.
Well, and generally, we try to focus on the positive as well
Exactly,
through those
yep.
processes.
Exactly. So, the next change, suggested would be in the design section on page 30, the third paragraph. We would like to change the sentence to read, and this is specific to the Rocky Fork property and opportunities for park space there, and also the gateway community entrance to the south. This attractive creekside setting would be an excellent location for a distinctive park space with opportunities for green space, a standalone gateway feature, public gathering space, and a place for rest for weary travelers. Careful consideration will be required to adhere to any floodplain restrictions. Again, just kind of cleans up a little bit of the language, and also really puts a driving point to the fact that there will be floodplain restrictions that we need to adhere to, because we won't be able to have permanent structures. There's going to be steps for that whole process. That is specifically the amendments that I have for the amendments, or for the downtown master plan.
And I had one that I might not have sent in, and it was on page 29 under street lighting. And, the sentence was, as opportunities present themselves, additional historically compatible fixtures should be installed to create a uniformity of design throughout the downtown and improve the overall walkability of the community. I was fine with that. Then it said, for example, replacing the historic lights that are currently mounted on non-historic concrete pedestals in the downtown with similar historic streetlights found on the north end of Broadway. So, I don't see that we're ever going to replace them just because they're on a concrete pedestal that makes them suddenly non-historic. And then it continues on to say, in support of local dark skies initiatives, another concern stressed at the focus group workshops, current streetlight design technology enables historically compatible streetlights to provide good lighting without significantly contributing to stray light and glare. As far as I know, this is a state highway, and there are state regulations as to how much light needs to be on the state highway. So I would be fine with cutting it after the first sentence without having a comment about replacing the historic lights that are mounted on non-historic concrete pedestals.
So strike
For
everything
example-
after that?
That would be my suggestion. I have no problem with as opportunities present themselves additionally historic
Do you wanna
compatible.
amend the,
I would
let me
amend the
bring this in
amendment.
to keep this in a organized, so you wanna
I
amend the
move,
amendment to also on page 29,
under street lighting,
on the second paragraph, keep the first sentence, strike the remainder of the second paragraph.
that would be what my motion would be.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilmember Conley, a second from Councilmember Ronning. Let's go to, so this is actually still part of the same motion, so, or is this an amend to the amend? Let's make it an amend to the amend, because it'll be easier.
Okay.
So discussion at the table on the amend to the amend.
There was the hand raised. from-
When we'll
Okay.
get to public when we're done at the table.
Don't see it.
All right. So if there's no discussion at the table, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open public comment. And this public comment will be to all of the amendments proposed at this point in time, which includes one new one that was not previously discussed. So with that, I'm gonna go open public comment, and I will, step to the podium, please introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Al Boomer, 302 Kino. So on page 25, we're gonna strike the ADA corners have never.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And just to be clear, on page 29, second paragraph under street lighting, you're striking, for example, on.
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 Okay, we're good with that.
Okay.
All right. Any other public comment on the amendments at large? Looking to the chamber? Seeing none, we'll go to online, and again, we'll have a final comment on the main motion, but I'm just looking for public comment on the amendments motion. Going once, twice, 3 times. Thank you for that public comment. I think it was very important for our discussion here. We'll bring that back to the table. Any discussion on the amendments? I'm gonna look, go ahead. Councilmember Root, thank you.
I'm kind of formulating this as I go, but, as far as the historic lights, they're not historic. I was on council 20-something years ago. If taking this off does that mean we can't come back to talk about the non-historic lights at a future?
No.
Okay, all
No,
right.
no,
Because this MBT, the state does get involved, of course, but
they own them.
they'll know,
Northwestern Energy.
Or Northwest Energy.
We'll
owns
have
them,
a
yeah.
little chat
but
with Lisa Perry.
it was kind of laughed about 20-something years ago that these historic lights were on 2-foot. It's not a big deal, but if we could have an opportunity to change them to something that's not on concrete, I think it would be something we could talk about
And
sometime.
and this was mentioned by the planning board chair earlier, this is a guiding document, this is aspirational, and so
Okay.
council always has their prerogative to come back and discuss those things and take action on them.
And I don't, it's hard to see people in the crosswalks with those streetlights. I don't know if other people have had that experience. When people are crossing and, I don't know, I don't think they're great lights, let's put it that way.
Yeah, safety, we can't disregard safety as we're building, and I think that reflects the conversation that we heard from council over the past year or two. And I think some of the other concerns and comments that we're focusing on things other than safety, that's the basis of it
Right.
as well. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I think I'm hearing a joint concern,
Okay,
so.
all right, just want to throw it out there.
Okay, I'm gonna look to my city clerk for a minute. Am I doing 2 votes? Am I doing amend to the amend? Or am I doing 1 vote to amend?
I move to amend the
You have
amendment.
one motion
Okay.
to amend the amendment.
Okay.
and you have another
So
motion.
we're gonna close this out in that order. So this first vote is for the motion to amend the amendment, which was Councilmember Conley's additions.
Did I give you that density?
And so if I could get a roll call vote on that, please.
Connie?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stupin?
Yes.
6-0, the motion to amend the amendment passes. Now that takes us back to the amendment. Any discussion?
Can we go back and do grammar at a later date? Because I have a few grammar things. I was just sort of, like Creekside, I think is one word, things like that.
I saw that too,
If,
and I just
if
decided
you
it wasn't
have any of
worth
those you'd like to submit, my request would be, because what'll be when we're done with action tonight, is we will submit these. In fact, I've already submitted them to Greg at WWC, and he's gonna go through and make those changes.
Okay.
And we can get it to us and also to planning board, just as an informational purposes, but grammar changes don't require council action to fix.
And just in my defense,
And it'll
I didn't
pass.
put Creekside that way, I copied and pasted that, so.
Okay.
Who else is?
All right, so,
Honestly, it
getting
would
back to the
spell
vote,
check.
this is on the motion to amend as presented in the handout prior to the additional amendments. Can I get a roll call, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude? Yes. Stupin?
Yes.
6-0, the motion to amend passes. That takes us to the main motion, and at this point, I'm gonna stop and see if there's any discussion at the table before I go to public comment on the main motion. All right, this is open for public comment on the main motion to approve and adopt the downtown master plan. Looking in the chamber. Seeing nobody leaping to their feet, we will look online. Greg, is there anything you would like to add, sir, to the conversation?
I'm just thinking through if there should somehow be a motion to adopt grammar changes. Just because once it's adopted, we technically probably shouldn't be hopping in, changing stuff that council hasn't formally approved, if that makes sense. Because normally you have to bring it back in and revote on a final document. Unless the,
I certainly don't have I don't see a downside to covering our bases with that. We'll do that when we come back to the table after public comment. Anything else, sir?
nope, that's it.
All right, as always, thank you for your professional expertise and input. Any other comments from online? Going once? Twice? 3 times, we'll close that. Before we take action on the main amendment, I will entertain a motion to include grammar.
I move to include any grammar corrections to the downtown master plan.
I'll second that.
Motion from Councilmember Ronnie, second from Councilmember Conley. Discussion at the table.
We include grammar, spelling, and punctuation, just overall.
Mechanics.
So changed.
So changed.
So seconded.
Okay.
Okay.
Discussion at the table. Sounds easy. Can we get a roll call vote on that amendment?
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
All right, 6-0, that amends to cover all of the grammatical stuff that's there. Now that takes us back to the main motion. Any last discussion at the table?
Really?
All right, hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ronnie? Yes. Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
All right, the motion passes 6-0. Again, the request would be any council members, or planning board members, if you see anything that's a grammatical thing that we missed, get those changes to me, please CC Lonnie, by the end of the week.
Okay.
If the English teacher agrees with your changes, they will be incorporated. And then what we will do is we will, Great West will get that to, or excuse me, WWC, sorry, WWC, will get that to us and we will get that latest copy with those changes posted online. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Decorum in the chambers. Is I'm leaving, what are you gonna do, fire me? All right, thank you. And that concludes our action portion of the meeting before 7 o'clock, so yay.
Good work.
All right,
Thank
so
you,
what we're
Alan,
gonna do now, for those who may be new to our meetings, is we're gonna move into the work session, which is basically discussing the things that are coming up for action in future weeks. I will start out by saying right off, as it'll come in there, that the next meeting, the biggie that will be on there is the budget. So, yeah, the budget approval. But with that, what we will do is we will go to public health and safety. And for that, I will look to Committee Chair Conley to give us a brief update of where we are. And I believe you also have an action item for us to discuss tonight.
I do. The police, as you saw in your packet, the calls for service for July were 208. Traffic complaints, which I thought was interesting, 53 resulted in citations. But in July alone, they had 454 calls for service, which generated 49 new cases. They booked into evidence 347 items. There were 5 meth bookings. It was an interesting and probably a little busy month for our boys in blue.
Crazy.
The other thing that that we discussed with the police chief was whether the state laws were sufficient to handle motorized bicycles, skateboards, unicycles, all of those types of things with wheels, and he felt that the state laws were sufficient. Bicycle is a bicycle as long as there's pedals on it. It can share the roadway. Nothing with wheels are allowed on the sidewalks. There are rules about having reflectors and headlights if you're driving at night, so that was fairly well covered. We did a review of the police budget, which I know that we still have to look at. One of the items on the resort tax budget, the original, was a $50,000 for the police, to start with a new police department. We need a new police building. And we felt at that point that the resort tax had not been presented with anything on that. It was taken off of the budget. Tonight, or this morning, we were let know that that $50,000 wasn't to sit in an account waiting for us to build a new police department. It was for planning for a new police department and to do all of the work necessary to get to the point where this is where it will be, this is what it will comprise. So that $50,000 was kind of misinterpreted in the first part, but it's not in the resort budget, and we did discuss about perhaps moving stuff around in the resort.
And we can have that discussion
When we get to the
during,
budget.
yeah, during the admin and finance portion, so.
The Bear Safe updates, apparently 18, out of the 1,800 trash cans, 600 have been looked at. Roughly 1/3 of them are non-functional. So, that will hopefully be addressed in our new our new collective bargaining agreement. And last but not least, an ordinance for solid waste to better address attractant waste and construction waste. We had already, looked at all of the changes that were in red. There was some blue ones that we did add at the last council meeting, changing the word, the people of Red Lodge live with wildlife, we changed it to coexist. And, under B, we did say that, all commercial industrial apartment operators shall provide solid waste handling, and we added that is an adequate size for the business. So we did add that. We also added where we had all attractant waste shall be stored in a resistant container. We did add on there 1 bag of non-attractant yard waste may be placed outside the container in case, people were concerned with that. So there were just the 3, changes in blue that you can see. And that was it.
There was
for-
some breaking it down to a few more bullets and just changing the order of them as well.
Yeah.
As council looks at that proposed ordinance change,
It's a new
any other
ordinance.
comments, or do you feel the committee accurately captured the feedback from last discussion?
From 3 weeks ago.
A long time ago.
Forever and a day.
And this will be a new ordinance.
Yep. Are we ready to move that forward,
Yes.
do we think,
Yes.
for council?
That's it for me.
All right, we will move that forward. And thank you again to that committee for all of those efforts there. That will, by the way, go through legal, because we want to make sure we captured everything there. So that goes to legal, and then we'll bring that for action next time. And being an ordinance, it will be two readings for that, and public comments on that.
And we'll get a number when.
It'll get a number, there'll be a number for that.
Good.
All right, any other questions for, Public Works?
Public health and safety.
I'm sorry, Public Health and Safety, sorry. All right, hearing none. Let's go to Admin and Finance, and for that I will look to Committee Chair Ronning.
All right, well, in the packet was the fiscal year 25-26 final draft budget. And with that, we do have,
Final
few-
draft.
The final draft, yeah, I don't know why it's the final draft, but yeah, because it can still be changed. But this is as presented to council, for your consideration. We have, the first 2 pages, are these, and they talk about the fact that a mill is this year worth $10,565.08. And with the formulas that we have in place to determine how much we can assess, we are this year assessing 73.74 mills. Dave, did you want to go in a little bit on how that just because people's property taxes are going up does not mean the city is getting a raise? That is capped, on how much we can collect.
Yeah, that is a true statement. Just how that works, what happens is, legislation passed at the state level back in the early 2000s, said that what the city budget goes up 1/2 the average rate of inflation over the last 3 years. That extends through this year. Next year, the changes they put into effect will kick in, which means we will get the actual rate of inflation up to 4%. And before immediate celebration, there was also some changes that will have some impacts to the city going forward. And that is, I gotta be careful, because potentially, I guess, let me phrase that. So the budget is you get 1/2 the average rate of inflation over the last 3 years, plus you get new growth. So any new development goes into that. So that's a little bit of an increase. When they changed it to saying actual inflation rate from 4%, they changed some of those categories down to lesser levels. You get 70% of the new growth, 60% of the new growth. And the theory is that it'll still be better because it's tied closer to inflation, but they don't want cities to go slap happy, as things go up. The part that affects property taxes, and we'll try to discuss this next week, but just in general, once that amount is set, then what they do is they take the value of the city as done by pooling all of the collective resources together, and they identify a mill, which is 1/1000th of 1%, and it's just a random number that's out there to use calculations. And they basically say, how many of those do you need to get to your budget? So that's why you will see our budget changes. So this year, we actually have more mills than we had last year because the value of a mill is less. Last year, we had a kind of a disproportionate raise because the value of the mills went up, and so we got less mills that was there. And you all remember that conversation because that was very significant, because we have some particularly large obligations that are based on mills. So we pay our fire department 28 mills. So the fact that we got more mills of a lesser value, but it's kind of like, am I going to give change for 100 with 20s, or am I going to give with 5s, right? The total is the same, just how many units of bills am I using to get it there? But when your obligation to the fire department is, we're going to give them 5 bills, that changes if it's 5s or 10s or 20s. Was that a good on-the-spot analogy? Did that work? Concept-wise, it was there. Don't tie the numbers quite that way. So the dollar, the amount doesn't change, but the amount of the mills, which rhymes with bills, we can go with that, did change. So you'll see more mills with a lesser value, lower face value, to get us to those numbers. Is that what you're going for, hopefully,
Yeah.
Matt?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So, for example, this last year, our current budget, if you look on page 1 of 23, our current budget for, real property taxes was $759,536, and this year we're getting $739,262. So our property taxes actually went down for the city.
But is
that right?
Is that the general fund? Because you
Yeah.
gotta remember, it is broke up between 4 different funds.
The property taxes are?
Yes.
But she's looking at a
So the
line
tax-
item, which is each one is
The
across
tax revenue.
So
different
look
years.
up on the fund, is that the general fund? Look up
Yes.
in the corner. So
Yes.
that's only one fund.
Okay,
Yeah.
so where are the rest of the property taxes going into?
The comp insurance.
Right. So, but those
But
are,
if you look,
explain this to me then, because
She's talking
how
about
much
here.
did we collect last year in tax revenue for the number of mills that we assessed?
I think the reason you're seeing a difference right now, and Lonnie, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that 759 is an actual, and our preliminary is also based on how much we're gonna give back. And you remember, we overstate how much we're gonna collect on resort tax, so we don't.
we don't do
do
that
that
with
here.
taxes.
No, this
That
is our
we-
income.
I know, but we haven't calculated that into this portion yet, correct?
It's
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
Okay, let me look.
It's getting funny.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, what? I'm like, so why?
Very much the city didn't get raised, to your question, to your
Yeah,
point.
so I guess that's my point. We did not get a raise in property taxes.
Even though we
No,
had.
so
we've got-
it just, I guess it just, so the way, find my sheet here.
I just want everybody to understand
Yeah,
this so that
the
they,
total number that, amount of mills that we can levy in those 3 funds is a 73.74.
correct.
So we're allocating 70.24 to the general fund, which gives tax revenues of 742,091.
Right. Okay.
So of the 73
739.
mills, 70 goes into general fund.
Yes,
Roughly.
so it did actually kind of go down, so I don't know if his theory is correct.
I think it's because this is also reflecting a discounted, which we really won't give that much back of property taxes. We'll
No,
end up,
It's already factored in. That 73.74 is the amount of mills that we can levy after the transfer. We have to account for the transfer that we do from.
But I'm saying the transfer right now is overstated from how it
No,
would really be.
the
No,
transfer is
no,
what
no.
we paid from the 24-25.
Last year's transfer.
actual
Right, it's the
transfer.
actual
Okay.
transfer.
The actual money that was moved
The
from
five-
resort tax
Right,
into, by
because
what was
every
collected.
year we give 5% of our resort tax. We don't actually give it back to the county, we subtract it off of the mills that we assess.
But it,
But, and it affects what we can
But it is-
assess in 25-26.
correct, so it is based on what we've actually collected, not what we think we're gonna collect. That's
Right.
not the transfer we
Okay.
do. We have to do it based on what's collected.
So let me rephrase the question a little bit. When we come back next week, can we be ready to speak to why this year's preliminary budget is $20,000 lower than last year's actual budget? We just want to be able to speak to it and explain it, as reflected on line 31-1, as the very first line on page 1.
And it could be because we did our 5% of resort tax for 24-25 could have been larger than, so to your point, it could have been that 5%.
Yeah, because the problem with that factor that he's talking about, that form does not take into consideration the resort tax that we have and how we have to reduce our taxes.
Our
by.
property tax that we
Yes.
assess.
So that your calculation and stuff is a little bit off because of our decrease in the amount of levy or mills that we can
Okay.
actually levy.
Okay, so
So-
that makes
If that
sense,
makes sense.
it does, I
But like I
completely
said, so to summarize, when we come back next week, we also want to speak to the difference between the 2024 or 24-25 budget of 759,526, looking at line 1, and why that next number goes down. We just want to be able
It's
to,
because the value of a mill
rather than
went
saying I
down.
think or I guess, let's have an articulated answer.
That's not it. You don't like that. I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so, so does anybody have any questions on that page 1 of,
I will point out that Lonnie handed out, one of the things today was
update of page 2?
an updated on the
Non-levied.
non-levied funds,
Yes.
or I'm sorry, were you not
Yeah.
there yet?
That
Sorry.
wasn't there yet, but that's okay. We can
I'm
speed
just
this
moving you
along,
along.
because we don't want to be here till 10 o'clock tonight. So, in our updated, the one that was in the packet, inaccurately reflected, this is the change, that there was a cash reserve in recycling of 363,000, and that was not accurate. Part of that needed to go, it was solid waste. Solid waste in our system, our accounting system is one category, and then she has 2 subcategories, so.
You know, one fund.
Yeah, one fund, but it's subbed out, so the reserve for that
Yeah,
it's corrected.
And that's why we go through this a couple times, so
Right,
we get those
yeah.
questions answered
Because
before next
that's
week.
a heck of a reserve for the recycling, if we actually had that, but we don't, so. And I didn't, just so as a point, we are estimating in resort tax that we will collect 1.975. We've never collected that much, but we do use a formula to determine, we want it high enough so that we don't have to pay it back. Because what happens in our ordinance is if we say we're going to collect $1 million in resort tax, and we actually collect 1.5, we have to give back the 500,000 in property tax relief. And so we want it high enough so that it's reasonable. We're like, hey, yay, that's an amazing year, but high enough so that we don't have to, refund, which we had to do one year, and it hurt a lot.
And the feedback from the public is, you got that resort tax money, please spend it to make
Yeah,
things
please-
go.
Please fix our streets, please work on our parks.
Please build our pool.
Please build our pool. So we need that money, so that's why the non-tax revenue, the 1.975, all of the non-tax revenue is estimates of what our budgeted amount, so.
And for the public's benefit, the trick there is resort tax, we don't spend until after we have it. So, and so you don't when you budget that 1.9, it can't be something you have a dependency on. So there's generally a line item that says, pay a bunch of stuff off early. So then we could use that to like pay off the pool early if an unexpected year came up, which was really exciting. The year that made us realize that was COVID, when we all thought, oh no, our resort tax is gonna tank, and it actually was the biggest year we ever had. That was the year
And
we
then we had to
efficiently,
pay
the resort tax
$100,000.
surpassed property taxes.
And that is absolutely true. Our resort tax, has been surpassed. If you were at the, presentation last, or 3 weeks ago, when Tom Coons, our chair, presented that, it's a spike now in resort tax, and our property taxes stayed like this, so. So does anybody have any more questions on the non-levied funds?
What is home local source?
That's, it's tied to CDBG funds. So that home local source was something that CDBG did a long time ago. To where, what was that
The home
program?
fund?
It was the home fund programs where we got money from the state, or residents did, they could do that
For down
program.
payment assistance?
Yeah, down payment
Yeah.
and closing cost assistance.
Yeah,
Right,
and we,
and
like,
we still have money in there, huh?
yes, yeah, but it's been, I know like it's been used for
Well,
other
they-
CDBG projects, like through.
Well, they
the-
have to pay it back if they sell within a certain period of
Yeah, but
time.
we're actually to that end of even the last program.
Oh, good.
So the years are finally being, so,
But, by the way, those two sheets are, if you look at the numbers down at the bottom, you'll recognize those are high numbers. You might recognize that those two sheets are in fact the budget resolution that you're looking at. We just haven't put it in a resolution format yet. But you're basically looking at, and when these numbers are all finalized and stabilized, which hopefully we're very close to, then that'll be reflected in the budget resolution.
All right, and just so everybody knows, these non-levied funds, this income and stuff that comes in, typically when they're in, a line item, especially water, sewer, solid waste, recycling, you cannot commingle those with other funds. Those are enterprise funds that if they are in there, they have to be spent out of there for that specific purpose, so.
The one other column I'm gonna call your attention to before we move on to the next part of that discussion is on those non-levied funds. And I'm looking at this specifically, column D, which is a cash reserve on line 11. You will see that we have a cash reserve set up to have 942, and we maintain a large cash reserve, so in case we do tank 1 year, we're still good, right? We can still, because we do have some of that are obligations. We use that for sewer, we use that for stormwater. We have some debt service that is based on that. And so if for some year it tanks, it's kind of like an emergency fund in your household. The reason that I call that up is there's gonna be a discussion here in a couple of minutes about some potential things to add to the budget, which were not presented to the Resort Tax Committee and therefore not included. But because this is a balanced budget going into that, anytime we add something, it has to come away from someplace else. And so the items that we're going to be discussing, I think, will actually, in order for us to add something, you mentioned the police department, building there. If we were going to add that $50,000, what we would basically do is, as a council, you would say, we're okay decreasing that cash reserve $50,000. I mean, we could take it out of something else too, but I think we should give very strong, weight to what the Resort Tax Committee presented us with. And so I think that cash reserve is one of those, we can say, yeah, let's go ahead and put this in the budget. The other alternative is if we wanted to do a budget amendment next year. And budget amendments are a little more taxing on staff and a little bit, I would rather say, let's go by with a lower cash reserve if council is comfortable with it, to add those things. Another one that'll come up is setting aside some money for some street projects within the city.
Who suggests, for instance, on line 11, who suggests keeping almost $1 million?
That was yours truly.
Oh.
Well, and it was also part of the Resort Tax Committee too, when we reviewed, if you remember the list we have of the resort tax expenditures, the top part, do you have that?
Yep.
The top part of the list is basically things that are required every year that we have to spend on resort tax.
But she's asking about the cash balance and the cash
Right.
on hand
No,
reserve.
but what
Yeah.
we did was, we calculated out, if we have the worst year ever, we need to still meet those obligations. And this year, those obligations are $1.1 million. So that's why you know, so you can take your cash start.
So
And-
if we got nothing, we'd still end up a little bit short, but that's not gonna happen. And quite frankly, we know that because we're a quarter way through the year already.
Right, so that's kind of where they came from.
But to your question about who determined that was gonna be a high number, that was me. And that was basically just, again, approaching it the way I do a household budget, right? I wanna make sure that if the creek does rise,
Darn that.
to use the term, that we're good to go.
Don't say that.
I know.
Okay, okay, so are there any other questions on those non-levied funds right now? Okay, so let's go to the meat of the budget. The first part, pages 1 through 23 are listed up here. Those are your revenue budgets. And then the second part of the budget is 1 through 37, and those are your expenses. And each one of these is, if you look up in the left-hand corner, Lonnie has them neatly labeled, general fund, you know, urban renewal, so they're not commingled on pages. That's why there's so many pages, is because here's your comp insurance, here's your library, here's your, you know, so every page is its own.
And another thing to note too, on revenues, they're a guesstimate. So you take what the actuals were from the previous year and kind of go off of that. I usually, when I do it, I just am very conservative. I don't like, so you don't base a budget on something that's outrageous. So.
You build your budget on the paycheck, not the bonuses.
Right.
Correct.
So yeah, so if you were to look through the revenues, there's really not a lot of changes over last year. The only, thing is, the big unknown that we have to be careful about, like I say, is estimating our resort tax revenue, so that in the end of the next year, we don't have to pay it back. So, do you wanna go ahead and talk about the resort tax, because that's gonna be the big meat
I think
of
that's-
the expenses?
Yeah, so I think that the big part, again, it's all there. Public is welcome to review that, welcome to raise and ask questions. I think that the portion of the discussion is in the expenditure portion, so this is the of 37, and resort tax starts on page 9 of 37. So if you, make sure in the center it says expenditure budget report, and then over on the left, you'll see resort tax in the upper left-hand corner starts. So,
This is kind of our discretionary income, where we can decide if we're gonna, what we're gonna spend
ooh,
on
I'm
parks.
not gonna sign on to the discretionary income, because that was very much what the resort tax committee said, is this is, don't treat this as discretionary income. This is,
Okay,
this requires proper planning.
but this is also the one where we get to spend it on fun things, like the pool and the parks, and,
So let me
where
give
other
you.
things are very strict on how.
Let me give you a couple, and this will just be a straw man poll. Your vote will come when we approve the budget in 2 weeks. But I'm gonna put stuff in the budget that I know I'm gonna get approvals for. So, and again, each of these things I'm gonna talk about would come out of our cash on hand. It would lower our cash on hand if we add each of these things. Okay? So, you mentioned, the law enforcement center. Do we want to set aside an amount of money for planning to do that? And I'm going to go ahead and start on the right. Councilmember Tupin, thumbs up, thumbs down. Speak your mind, please.
I'll start, I'll say no.
Okay?
I'm kind of that ilk as well. I want to make sure that we have our other budgets. So here's my question, I guess. I have no problem with budgeting for that, but also considering that it's a fund that we don't know how much comes in, is it appropriate to say, like, this gets funded if we make over X?
Yes.
I would be okay if we have a gangbuster year and we hit our cash on hand and then we have additional, that now goes into a kitty. Or goes towards planning. But that is where I would stand on it. I don't think I necessarily want to see it come out of something, but considering that cash on hand has been somewhat, is there a way that we can just add 50,000? Because again, it's all guesstimates anyhow.
No.
So.
When you say, so the answer is right now, it's balanced as we start out with.
Right.
So for instance, and my concern is, I don't want to say, one of them that I have a concern with, which is very much in line, is the ice rink discussion. Just because we have built that in the budget does not mean that we're ready to spend
Right,
$400,000 yet.
and that's what I'm saying.
We still want to see some PER, we're still gonna
Yeah.
discuss whether we're even doing that there, so, and I think that's the same thing, because there's two versions, we could just say, yeah, $1 million does something, and then we can say, here's what we're using it on, but what we're doing is kind of letting the public know, this is what we're looking at doing.
And again, that's, what I'm saying is, I would rather see everything else in this budget funded before adding first, exactly, before putting money towards something, towards the police department.
Okay. And I think, and yes, we make sure we have it before we spend it.
Right. So what
So,
I'm saying
that's
is, I don't necessarily want to take away from any other section, but depending on how this cash on hand is actually working, I don't have an issue taking 50,000 from 942,000. If, you know, and if we don't end up hitting
So-
892,000, that 50,000 doesn't get funded. Does that make sense?
It does, but, so let me
Okay.
skip ahead. There's actually three items that I'm gonna bring up. There's a police request for $50,000.
Okay?
There is a parks master plan that we've discussed even tonight, that we've been told is 25,000. And initially, when we thought it was gonna be 10 to 12, we thought, well, we'll pay for it out of that 85 that we've set aside for park projects. Coming in at 25, the feeling is that's a little bit high.
Mhm.
So that's a second item that I would like to add specifically to the budget, is a parks plan, master update plan.
So it's number 3. So before I vote on any of these, I'd like to know
Yeah,
all the
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And then number 3 is, I'd like to set aside an additional 50 for streets, for street projects, which we know is a very, very high thing that's on there. And there's actually two. So one of them is, there was a sit-up on the West Bench, up in Country Club Estates.
A what? Oh, it's
A SID, a Special Improvement District. We went to them and basically voted on a tax, and they all got to pay $2,700, I think, as, you know, over a series of years.
10 years.
And I, by the way, live up there, so I was impacted by that. But I was also at the meeting where they came to the HOA meeting, and the question was raised, well, it was originally slated for like 15 or 20 years. And the question was raised, will you maintain the streets? If we pay to do this big project, do you promise to maintain the streets so that they at least stay up to par for as long as the payments last? And the city said yes. And actually, they did two things. They said yes, and then the second thing they did is they changed it from 20 years down to 10 years, so they lowered that commitment. And so they paid for it over 10 years. To date, we have done nothing up there, so those sheets are deteriorating because we haven't put any crack seal in there. And so Mike's great, I'm happy to do that. Where's the money coming from? By the way, we have a road project we ought to do at Grant, and anybody remember the exact, there's some water things. There's some specific road projects within the city.
Some water thing? Sorry.
Yeah, well, you're over in that water things, yeah.
I'm real over that water thing, we'll put it that.
So there's some flow things there, and so the answer is, I'd like to put $50,000 in there for streets.
So let me put it this way.
And prioritize kind of like the parks.
If I had to prioritize, I would much rather put it towards streets than parks than police.
Okay?
Yeah,
And specifically, in terms of taking it from reserves, I want to make sure that city staff feels comfortable that we will be able to maintain off those reserves and feel comfortable doing that in case there is a year where the businesses are down and we don't have that resort tax funding coming in. Because again, I agree that we need these street projects done. I agree that we would need a master plan done for our parks, and I agree that we need a police department. But at a certain point, we also got to recognize the fact that,
The budget is finite.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, to me, like, as much as I love the master plans that we've put together and having engineering do it, at a certain point, when can it be a master plan that's developed by individuals within the community in a volunteer effort?
Okay.
And it's not costing us $25,000. Or is it something that we can,
Well, would it cost us the full $25,000?
because I mean, I look at that document and I think that's, you know, I don't see technical engineering put into a planning document like that. So to pay 25, you can pay me 15, I'll do it.
And you
Well,
did.
Let's put out the bid.
And AI will do it for 5.
Exactly.
Oh, you only get 15, I want 15.
So again, we talk about where's the priority and where do we want to be putting our money. Honestly, I'd like to see our money spent a little bit smarter, and as much as I love, again, I think he's gone, but as much as I love these engineering firms, they're wildly expensive, and at a certain point, as much as would love quality product, service, there's also things that can be done at a more affordable rate, I believe.
Lonnie, do you want to add anything before I continue around city council discussion? Or are you comfortable with how I presented that? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. Unlike the ice skating rink, that 400,000, you know, that's another one. That's not gonna get spent unless we get the funds. That's kind of at the very bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
So, but like, streets are important to maintain those streets, and ice rink, in my opinion, is at the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
The nice city.
you know,
Yeah.
No, I agree with you on that, but also going back to the discussions of where the resort tax came from and what the intentions may be. And I know that we've heard this statement said quite a few times, that they want the icing, not the cake. But at a certain point, it's what the public and community requested was the icing. And I get that we need to be able to pay for the cake too,
Well, I
but.
think they wanted the cake.
They want the whole,
They want it this way, they want the muffin top, but not the muffin?
And in fairness, that is the conversation we've had is icing, not the cake, and it has been purported.
Tax relief and streets, and there was a third one I can't remember, but that streets and tax relief was the original intent of the resort tax.
Yeah,
And before we
Luke used it years ago.
before we had it renewed, the survey that we did, the people spoke, and tax relief was not at the top of their list.
Actually,
They
it was at the
wanted,
bottom.
it was at the very bottom of their priority list, because they were like, no, use that to fix our streets, use that to buy a new plow truck, use that to, maintain our parks, because before this last time we renewed it, we couldn't maintain the parks. We could go buy new stuff, but we couldn't maintain what we had
We
there.
could build moose trails, but we
It was
couldn't.
just for capital improvement,
it.
so that was a huge priority of theirs, was to fix what we already had
Well,
with the
there
resort
was
tax.
streets and parks.
Yeah.
It was, I think parks was the third one, I can't,
Yeah.
so.
And that's why my priority literally falls to street park.
It was pool, stormwater, streets, when we did that survey.
So let's come back to the question which is at hand. So under resort tax, there's a whole lot of stuff, and to refer to the page that it's at the back of your page, I pulled it up to the front, but this is the page that was put together by the resort tax,
Yeah.
and it's at the back of your budget, that one there. This is the stuff that is happening first. This is the stuff that's happening. So to your point, while it's not represented on this page because I failed to get it in front of the resort tax committee, all three of these things would be down below this.
Fabulous.
They'd be capital
So,
projects.
so there's two approaches we can do to do that. We can basically say, hey, these are capital projects that are down here. They happen as them, and by the way, we're shuffling and revisiting those as the funding comes in. We can add it up front, and then we can still shift around a little bit and use stuff there. Or the alternative is, if it's not there, then if it's not a line item to start with on this budget, then we have, because here's another alternative, Lonnie. Here's an idea. Tell me I'm stupid. I'm okay with that. We could put a line item in and put $1.
I mean, again, to me, and this right, would like the clarification for the guy who put in the $242,000 reserve. Like, are we comfortable bringing that down now, $125,000? Or is there a way that this budget is flexible enough to where we can have those line items in, and when that funding hits the reserve, then these additional budgeted items then get funded? Lonnie,
okay,
sorry,
so
I shouldn't be directed.
on your sheet here, with the cash reserve. So your total requirements have to match your total resources.
Mm-hmm.
So you have cash available. that is cash you have on hand
Right.
to spend.
Yep.
So, and then your non-tax revenue, that's the guesstimate. So you
Mhm.
have 1.975 that we are anticipating coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, you have 1.5 million to spend. On the appropriation side, what is currently in here is 2.5. So we literally need to collect $1 million to hit the current appropriation.
Okay.
So that cash reserve is more of just a placeholder because we have to budget that amount for the revenue so that we do not have to, but because we have so much cash available, that total resource goes up. So in turn, you have to make your total requirements go up, so that extra money has to go somewhere. So that's sitting in your cash reserve.
Okay.
So technically, with the cash that you have on hand currently that is spendable, and then I'm assuming we're gonna collect $1 million in resort tax, because I don't know what we collected last year. But if it's another $150,000 that is being requested,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't see an issue with the extra and reducing that cash reserve, which is just a placeholder.
Okay.
And then
That's
that
what
would,
I'm asking.
and that would cover what is currently appropriated, budgeted in this,
Mhm.
by what the resort tax committee suggested, and then what the mayor is,
Okay.
recommending.
And so like I said, we could do nothing, but in order to do any of those projects, we would have to do a budget amendment to basically add a new line that says Parks Master Plan or streets, okay? From a process standpoint, and then let me finish on to the next one. From a process standpoint, we could put each of those in there and put a dollar, because once it's a line item, we're allowed to shuffle and go through there. That, to me, is not playing straight. If the expectation is 50, 25, 50, we should put that in. Nobody's gonna scream if we come in under. Nobody's gonna scream if our estimates are a little off and it shuffles, as long as our totals are good. But if we're gonna put those in, I think we should put them in for what we anticipate those are going to be.
Right.
Just an
And I don't
upright
have it-
forthrightness.
Again, I don't have an issue with the anticipation of what those are gonna be. I just wanna be sure that we anticipate that we'll be able to cover all of these items when they're put into the budget and still be able to maintain a proper reserve.
I will tell you, as the guy preparing the budget who gets yelled at when
That's
it's
what
done,
happens. Yep.
I am comfortable adding that 125 and reflecting it on the cash reserve sheet
So-
on line 11 of column D.
And I do want to bring everyone's attention to the fact, the reason why that our cash amount, cash available is so high is that,
Because we didn't pay the
yes, the vac
vacuum truck.
Right. We had budgeted last year for $523,000 for a vac truck, and it takes over a year to build those, and so it has not been paid for yet, so,
But
you
it's
know.
still budgeted.
But it's still budgeted.
And
So
I
I have-
anticipate we'll see some of that stuff with like the ice rink. There may be things that we're budgeting that aren't gonna get spent in this next year.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanna make sure that we are building up that cash reserve, so when we do
right.
need to spend the money,
So-
Our cash available.
Our cash
Yeah.
available, just so you know, our cash available will instantly be down to $1 million when that back truck comes in.
right. But I'm just saying, again, when we
But then
budget
the
this,
budget
I
is-
wanna make sure that that cash on hand next year is something where we can cut the check when needed.
Understood and fair.
Okay. And there are some capital projects here that are, like the EDA sidewalks, is that a pretty good estimate of what we're going to have matched?
Well,
Like,
that-
They had 100,000 in here for that.
Yeah, and then we have 50,000 for a cost share. Maybe people won't wanna do that.
I think they will once they find out that there is a cash.
And-
Share.
Well, and I think, so, like I said, we're doing our best to put, all these numbers are our best guesses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
we
I-
all acknowledge we don't have a crystal ball, which now goes back to why we have cash available and cash reserves.
So,
And
on
again-
parks, can I just ask a quick question? Because the resort tax committee had put in, $100,000 for parks projects. Did we do that, or are we still at 85?
Well, it's actually, no, it's, they combine two, because there's a combination of Pride Park that was 82. Oh,
And then
I don't remember when they changed that to 100.
That's the last, 2 meetings ago.
I don't, we don't reflect that.
Okay, that's
So
what I
that's
said.
that's a new call out to me. I don't know,
Is it required?
I'm trying to remember what that specific trigger was. I've got 2 weeks
Just
to do
that-
homework.
It was more that, if my recollection is correct, it's just that Willie has been able to do a lot of work in the park, and there's still a lot of, deferred maintenance that he's been working on, and they're
I
just-
think, yes,
it was more for
it was an additional 15,000.
Right.
He's extra productive, so we need to pay extra money.
No, it was an additional 15,000 to outsource some of that stuff as far as maintenance goes.
No,
Pardon?
it wasn't outsourcing it, it was just so they could hit more of those deferred maintenance type projects.
Okay, I'll follow up. I've got 2 weeks for homework.
Talk to Mike about it, because he was the one who, yeah.
Okay.
And then, the Pride Park project, you know, that alone was $82,000 to do those updates to Pride Park. I mean, is that something that could be put off for another year?
Or is it something that we put off the parks master plan for another year? Or is it, and again, we mentioned this before and never really got solid answers, can we phase that project?
With-
Where we're doing 20,000 this year and then 60 the following?
This is Pride Park?
Correct.
Yeah.
Do we have to approve that?
Because the planters need to
The
be
things that
replaced,
they've
and
proposed.
you
Well,
could do
so,
that,
so now we're coming back to,
micromanage.
we have a committee that is tasked with gathering and collecting public input and presenting it and forming, and by the way, that doesn't mean that they agree, and it doesn't mean the council agrees that that accurately reflects. So, you know, the cake frosting or the streets and that sort of stuff. That's ultimately council, but the cautionary tale I'm gonna throw out there is when it comes time to renew a resort tax, that committee plays a very, very important role in helping the public renew our resort tax. So I don't want to be off-putting, thank you, we're going to ignore everything you said. I want them to feel, and that does not mean they're dictating it. They are not dictating it. I still build the budget, you still approve the budget. But I can't disenfranchise them in the manner in which I do that.
And that's part of the reason I don't want to change what they have.
So, yeah, so I mean, and I will give my spiel here like I did at Admin and Finance. I am their representative, I'm on the Resort Tax Committee, and they feel that any, cake, well, no, they feel that anything for the police department, especially in these big capital projects or just funding the police department, that it should not come out of resort tax. They were fine with, you know, 2 cars every other year or a police vehicle every year. But, they absolutely did not agree with the $50,000 towards the planning for a new, building or a new, you know, new area for them. They feel that it's council's responsibility to, do a public safety levy and go to the voters for that. And that we shouldn't be looking towards resort tax to fund those types of expenses. So I'm the representative and I'm required, you know, they want me to. I'm required or I will get yelled at.
Pummeled.
Pummeled at the next meeting, but I just want you to know that that's their opinion. That's why the 50,000 is not in here. And part of it is that they didn't understand the project either, but it was very adamant amongst everyone at that meeting that was their consensus, so.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up, because we've got a few more things to get through, and we've got 15 minutes left. So, let me get a thumbs up. I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 in the order that Councilmember Tupin put forward. Streets, yes, add it and decrease cash reserves. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Is it a one-time thing?
Well,
I mean, will this be
it's,
like every year you'll be doing it?
well, if it comes up again, it'll go in front of the
Probably gonna be a
the
problem
Resort
in
Tax
there.
Board.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Well, there's only 2 more years left of the SID, so, yes.
Well, and it's not always gonna be going to that, it's gonna be going street projects around town.
Street projects.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
sorry.
Yeah.
just to be clear, what I'm gonna do is I will add streets for 50, and I will decrease cash reserves by that like amount. Lonnie, am I making sense so far? Okay, Parks Plan, thumbs up, 25 grand, yes or no? A down? Down.
Yeah.
Hard.
Come back to it.
Park plan. I like exploring other options first, too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it should come out of their if we give them 100,000, it should come out of that.
Agreed.
Okay,
So,
was it, I didn't see, was it down?
Yeah.
All right,
I got
Parks is no. All right, 50 for police.
No. I'm looking.
Does it have it by hum?
I have no
Yeah, I guess not. Still explore and research more
Okay,
options.
Next year, great.
Councilmember Rowley?
I'm on the fence, so.
I vote for it. I think that we're just gonna keep putting it off and kicking it down the road, and these guys are jammed in a little spot. And every time they get, like they had opened up, 49 new cases, and they had 243 new things that they had to maintain.
Okay,
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
it.
I wanna explore levies and see what we can come up with.
okay.
Anyways.
I'm sure people are gonna want to
So,
back.
let me tell you what I've got here.
Exactly.
Streets is yes, Parks is no, look to your 100 grand. Police, I've got a question mark in, because I've kind of got a split vote. What I will tell you is even if we do approve it, I need a more articulated plan. If we put it into the budget, I'm doing it so we don't have to do a budget amendment later.
Good.
And there would be a more articulated plan before we move forward, but I may flip a coin 5 times and see how it comes up, and, I'll make a decision before next week, and I'll be ready to defend it
Okay.
before the next meeting.
To the resort tax committee, because
Pardon?
I'll be skipping that meeting.
Yeah.
No. Well, and I do have a meeting with, the resort tax does have a meeting next week before we meet again.
Yes.
So I will get their
When is
input.
that? I'd like to, can the public go?
Absolutely,
Yeah, the public-
absolutely.
Okay, I would love to learn more.
Next Tuesday at 5:30.
Okay.
Here in this.
Tuesday, 5:30 here. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else that you want to wrap up on yours really quickly?
No, just please review the rest of the budget. If you have any other comments or questions, I'm sorry, we don't have time to go through.
Can I just make a,
Yeah.
on the bond resolution, that will need to be for action at the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, so the bond resolution, that's the big complicated document,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's pretty standard.
and we've paid a professional to put that together?
Correct, Dorothy and Whitney,
Oh, yeah.
they're our bond.
And, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you just meant on the budget.
Oh, no,
Yeah, do you wanna go over the, resort tax ordinance now, or do you wanna hold off till next time?
Let's go ahead and, the resort tax ordinance is in there, and did you get your copy of all the changes?
Yeah, I did, and
So that will not be up for action next
we
time.
did go through it, today, and I'm in finance, and I will be taking a few things back to resort tax to clarify and get their input on it, to make sure we understand.
And we'll just
it
tell them
correctly.
we didn't get to it because we were talking budget.
Yes,
Okay.
so that's it from me.
All right, so the bond resolution for the water project, does anybody have any concerns with that? That is going to be up for action at the next meeting.
No.
I read the whole thing.
Related to the one-
It almost sounded like you're, didn't it read like about like an insurance policy?
Yes.
It really
Jody knows
did.
I ignore reading those.
Oh, okay. I gotta tell you, I skipped over a lot of that.
All right,
so.
So resort tax ordinance will not be for discussion next time. The bond resolution for water project will be up for action.
Okay.
All right.
Noted.
Perfect.
Land use and planning, and this was a goof on me when I was putting together the agendas. I put it on here, I did not include it on the land use and planning work committee, but you had so much extra time, it wouldn't have fit anyway.
Did you do that?
Did I miss that conversation?
So can we bypass that till next week then?
I just had the question is,
Or
where
would
is
you like to
Alpine Way?
introduce it
Where
and
is
then-
Alpine Way?
So,
Golf course?
it's kind of by Silver Circle, and they renamed it because it kept getting confused with another Alpine, and so it's a
There's
new
an Alpine
development.
Trail, an Alpine Loop.
Yep, so they wanna rename it to where it would stand out, and I love the idea of Rocky Mountain Way, it's cute as hell, but.
And the answer is it requires a council action to do it.
It's a
Yeah.
resolution?
So here's a couple of comments on that. I don't think it's a big deal, my 2 cents. There is one property that's on the road,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they are closing in 2 weeks. And so I got a call tonight because I said, well, if you moved it to the next day, and they're wondering, do we do it, is the bank closing on Alpine Way? And then they go in the next day and change it to Rocky Mountain Way, or if we think we're moving forward, then they don't have to make a change afterwards.
So should we just, are you asking for action right now?
Let's do it.
No, we can't do action right now.
Oh,
But we can do action next time, even though we didn't discuss it a lot.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
Um,
move it to action next time. It's renaming a road that, again, doesn't really have any residents.
Has one
Again,
residence on it now.
Good, it's about the, yeah.
No
it's
one
a
has
very
to
small
change their
street.
stationery.
Exactly.
And there's less paperwork that'll have to be changed. If we do approve it next week, the one property that's impacted will be right and not have to go back to the bank and change it afterwards.
Beautiful.
So that would be my argument. If everybody's good with the idea, I say let's move forward with it.
Boom.
And
Yeah.
did we check, there's no other Rocky Mountain Way in town, right?
There isn't.
There's no other
There
road
isn't.
that sounds like this one, okay.
If there is, I have not been there.
Okay.
No, they came up with something new.
So we're good, moving that for action next time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. EDA street grant, I do not see Brandon on here unless he's a cell phone only, and that doesn't make sense to me. So the short version
I am.
is, oh,
Yeah,
are
I'm
you the cell phone?
traveling on the road today, so I had to come in on my phone.
Okay, so we do have Brandon here. I was thinking you're gonna give a presentation and a highlight, but what I'll do is I'll make it really easy, so hopefully you can sum it up. The EDA street grant is out to bid right now. The bid opening is this Thursday. So like all of the awarding bids, we come in, they give us a letter that says, hi, we had a bid opening, these 14 people applied, here's what our recommendation is. We recommend you award the bid. Because we like to talk about things here, we've got a fill in the blank template that doesn't have the details in it. And so the goal is, in case we get somebody who comes back and says, we want to do it this year, we want to be able to move forward with it so that they can start this year. If it ends up being next year, then it's probably not as critical. But off the possibility that somebody may want to start that EDA street project this year, we want to be able to accommodate it. And with that, Brandon, go ahead and kind of give timeline
Yeah.
and anything else you have to say, sir.
Yeah, so exactly what he said, we're hoping to get this in front of you now so that at the next council meeting, you guys can take action on it and we're not 2 council meetings out after we do the bid opening on Thursday. And so this is that EDA project, if you're not aware, that has the grant associated with it, for street improvements that overlap where phase 1 stormwater was done. We updated our cost estimate with the final design. That came in right at what we had to take the contingency out that we had in the planning phase budget, and so we're right at the EDA budget right now. With that, we broke the project into schedules, so that gives you guys the option to award within the available funds depending on how all the bids come in. So we will open bids Thursday, review all of that, and get an award recommendation for action at the next council meeting. Kind of a quick high-level summary, I guess. Just any questions on that or concerns?
So you guys will recall there's been a couple of them, we did like Schedule 1, 2, and 3, and we only awarded Schedule 1 and 2 because that's what the budget allowed.
Right.
So this one was built with that sort of stuff in mind as well. I don't know how likely it is that we're gonna have somebody who wants to move this year, but I don't wanna paint us into a corner if we do.
What was this, remove contingencies, what is that? What did they remove? Just to break it down into schedules? He said, that we removed contingencies.
Brandon, you said removed contingencies. Did you wanna re-clarify or
Yeah,
speak to
so-
what you meant by that?
Yep, so we did this grant application better part of a year and a half ago. And so as part of that, when we do those estimates, there's a contingency line item, as a percentage of the cost, to account for inflation, maybe some design items that weren't anticipated in the planning level.
It's fudge money built
cost
into the
estimate that was
project.
prepared. And so now that we're at final plans, we update that cost estimate, present that to the city. Mike has reviewed it, you know, before we put this out to bid. And all I'm saying is our planning level budget is still there. We just lost the contingency line item that was there. And so for that reason, instead of awarding the entire project, we broke it out into schedules, so we still have the opportunity to award a project that's gonna be within the city's budget.
So as the project was mapped out, it had, and I'm gonna throw out a number, I wanna say it was 10%, was like the fudge money line item, in case we were wrong and counted wrong, and that, there's no longer room for that in the budget.
Right,
Because you have
that's
the real
at 0. Yep. So
You have actual-
on Thursday, we will receive the bids and we'll have the real numbers, and our recommendation to the city will be based off of that, and presented at the next council meeting.
Did that answer your question, Councilmember Davis?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions for Brandon?
No.
All right, hearing none, is council comfortable with us moving that forward? And again, it doesn't mean we're saying we're gonna vote yes, it means bring us the information so we can make a decision. And you won't be catching us out of the clear blue.
Yes.
Okay. Brandon, anything else you wanna add? Otherwise, I think we're done, sir.
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
They've already
Thank you. So we will move Alpine forward, and we will move the EDA street project forward. And Brandon, just again, remember, I know our bid opening is Thursday. I'd like to get all the documentation from you no later than a week from tomorrow, because we have to have it in our packet out Friday morning, and I want to give room in case we need to bounce it back or forth once or twice.
Sounds good.
Lonnie, anything you wanted to add to that? All right, thank you. With that, correspondence. I have one thing I would like to add in correspondence. I got a letter from the elections administrator today, saying that the elections are set, meaning there are no run-ins or anything. So there is not a requirement from an officer standpoint for the city of Red Lodge to have an election. Their estimate is it'll cost us $4,000 for mailing, which is not, we share the cost with the county, but it's like, and we have in the budget $5,000. But the question is, the only thing that would be on that agenda, on that ballot that we send out
The marijuana bit?
is the growth. Do we want to have the voters say that no growth operations exist within town and have it be done? Do we still want to do that, knowing we're spending $4,000 for that discussion hour? Or do we want to save it to sometime that we're already doing it?
I would probably save it personally, just because.
But don't we have to elect Jeremy?
No, because he's running unopposed. So there's one person in every election, but they're all running unopposed, which means it's not necessary to send a ballot out.
That's odd. That'd be odd not to have an election, but I'm open to whatever y'all want to think.
I just assume save the 4,000.
I don't see us having
Seems
any new
unnecessary.
Could we
applications
not
for
just
grow
go
apps.
into like the whole thing on budget, like?
Can
Yeah.
we use that?
Put it towards the police department.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we use that somewhere else?
Maybe
Is
we
that
can get a plan
enterprise
for
fund?
$4,000.
Right?
I'm for saving it.
I don't feel that the marijuana, grow operations is necessarily a burning, issue at the moment, because we already have 2 licenses that have been
Yep.
issued
Exactly.
through the city, and, they cannot change their current operations without going through a whole new application.
Okay.
So,
We need to do a special
Is this a
election.
final vote?
no.
Well, no, well,
Might-
Kind of.
yeah, no, and I get,
It would be on, we have to pass a resolution saying we do not. We already said we wanted to put that on the ballot, so we would have to vote to not do that and not have an election. Because council
Okay.
already said we wanted it on the ballot.
2 minutes.
and I can just lose the paperwork. That's good enough for now. What we'll do is we'll prepare the not move forward paperwork, and then we can have a more in-depth discussion in the future.
Can we use that 4,000 for something else, or is it just for elections?
It's in the budget. It'll go
It's not-
someplace else.
Committed
But
funds?
it's in the general fund.
It's in the general fund,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Not enterprise or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's not an
Can we
enterprise
use this?
fund, yeah.
Okay.
We can use it.
We can use this wherever we.
Oh, and we
choose,
will.
When the committee chooses, yeah.
And I don't have a problem with building up our cash on hand. Like I said, I had a staff position that we did not fill. And so, yeah, we will. But, okay. All right, any other correspondence that anybody had?
Just from Bill Foisey.
Oh, the bill, oh, crumb, we're gonna get, Bill Foisey, when you watch this on replay, your comments were handed out to all of council prior to the meeting, so even though we did not publicly acknowledge it during the public hearing portion, that's on me, but it was provided to everybody before action was taken,
And I did provide it to land use and planning. Correct.
prior to that as well.
When they were discussing the, downtown master plan, so hopefully they were able to take that into
Let the record show that I will not be offended in the least if somebody says, do you want to give 2 seconds comment to the comments that come in, just to call it and get it on the record, so. All right, and they will be included in the next packet as well. That's right, I would look back at the meeting and say, where could I have improved? There's an opportunity I could have improved. All right, any other correspondence? All right, what we will do, our last agenda item is I'm going to open it up to public comment. This is where you can address the council on anything within the council's purview. I'm opening it up to anybody in the chamber.
I'd like to say thanks for listening to our initiative, but also just hearing the entire meeting, I think our city's in good hands.
Thank you. Could I have you just for the record restate your name?
My name is Steve Parliament.
All right,
Lake Parliament, and no, I'm not in politics.
all right, thank you.
You want to be.
I know.
All right, I will go to online to see if there's any comments. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, hearing no comments, we will close the public comment, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.